Well, let's go ahead and get started then. My name is Dave, and I am one of the owners and operators of Homeschool Tracker. And Rebecca, yes, you can hear me and see me too. Thanks so much. Again, I'm one of the owners and operators of Homeschool Tracker, and just want to take a second just to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know there are so many different things you could be doing at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, so we really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy week to learn a little bit more about Homeschool Tracker and how to best utilize it in your homeschool. And really, just to take a second to talk a little bit about what our mission is here, it's to not only create the tools that allow you to be more successful in your homeschool, but to also give you the training and the support to use those tools effectively. And that's what webinars and training sessions like this are really all about. Spending some time with you guys to answer your questions, to show you how the program works, really to better empower you so that you can go off into your homeschools and be more productive, have better records, all of those things. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Just a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this session, and we will send you a copy of the recording as soon as it's available. We typically go for about an hour or so, and then we have plenty of time for questions and answer after that. I'm happy to stay on as late as we need to just to make sure we get all of your questions answered. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. I want to take a minute just to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about where to find help. So if you've been using Homeschool Tracker for a while, you've probably noticed that it's a really feature-rich program, meaning there's a lot of different features in there, a lot of different tools you can use. So I'm going to point you in the right direction on how to find help if you ever need it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the interface, and just kind of go over it a bit. Then we'll discuss the difference between subjects and courses and how to set those up in your homeschool. Then we'll talk about assignments, which are really the heart of all of your record keeping in Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll dig into lesson plans, which are a really popular and time-saving feature. Then we'll talk about reports, specifically the daily task list. And then we'll discuss workflows. And what I mean by workflows are really just kind of how you use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis. And then, like I mentioned, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. So let's go ahead and dive into where to find help. So personally, I think probably the best place to find help are right here on these training webinars that we do. We typically do these once a month, and you can always find the most recent one here on our website. If you go to our website at homeschooltracker.com, then go to the support tab and click on Training Center. This is where you'll find the upcoming training events. You'll also find replays of previous training events that we've had here. So you could see all of the getting started webinars that we've done, like this one. And then also we did one specifically on lesson planning. So if you are at all interested in getting really deep with lesson planning, I highly recommend you check out the replay for that webinar here. But I think that's really a great place to get help if you ever want to jump on. We do these about once a month, and then usually around like August, September, kind of back to school season, we'll do them every other week or so. The next place I would recommend are our Getting Started tutorial videos. So if you go to our help site, which is help.homeschooltracker.com, right here at the top, these are our Getting Started videos. They are 11 parts, and each one's only a few minutes long. So altogether, you could watch all 11 parts in about 30 minutes or so. And they really just kind of go in detail on specific areas within the program. So if you are looking for something specific, this is a great way just to dive in and see a quick video on that specific thing. Next, I'll mention the help documentation itself. So again, our help site, help.homeschooltracker.com, is a really comprehensive guide to Homeschool Tracker. And it's really kind of a reference guide. So as you can see, it's organized by kind of keyword here, where you can kind of jump in and learn about different things. So one trick I like to show folks is that if you're in Homeschool Tracker, so here I am in Homeschool Tracker right now, and from any screen within Homeschool Tracker, let's just go to the calendar view real quick. From any screen within here, if I just click on the help link up here in the top right, that'll take me directly to the corresponding help page for that page. So this is the agenda calendar view and the help page for that. And here you can see anything and everything you ever want to know about the agenda calendar view. And it includes links off to other relevant areas as well. So that's a really handy feature. The other thing I like to show folks about the help site for Homeschool Tracker is the search function. So this is really powerful. If I just type in something, for instance, how about days off? If I want to learn how to add days off in Homeschool Tracker, I can just type that in, and immediately the first result here tells me a lot more about how to input days off within Homeschool Tracker. So really a really comprehensive guide, but again, it's more of a reference guide. So I highly recommend using the search or just clicking on that help link whenever you're within Homeschool Tracker, and you'll get all the information you could ever want. And then lastly, email. You can email us anytime at support@homeschooltracker.com. We monitor that email box all the time, and we typically respond to each and every email within 1 to 2 business days, a lot of times much sooner than that. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all. We're happy to answer your questions there. They can be about the program, about specific features, about how to use the program in a certain circumstance that you might be facing. They could be about account or billing questions, whatever it is. We're happy to help. So don't hesitate to email us at support@homeschooltracker.com. Okay, so let's jump into the interface a bit. What I want to do is I'm just going to close some of these tabs here and head back over to Homeschool Tracker. So what I want to do real quick is just kind of run through the menu here. I'll make this a little bigger. And kind of tell you about different areas of the menu. So the main menu in Homeschool Tracker, as you see here, you can always open or close this just with this little caret icon here, is broken up into 5 different areas. So schedules and planning, students, reports, manage lists, and your account. So up here in the schedules and planning section of the menu, this is where you'll find the agenda, both in calendar view as well as list view. And the agenda is really just that. It's just the daily list of all of the things that you or your student need to do. And you can view that in 2 forms, calendar view or list view, and we'll dive into both of those in just a minute. This is also where you'll find your lesson plans, as well as the shared lesson plan library. Now, below that is the students section of the menu. This is where you'll find the main student list, the grade levels that you can assign to your students, the grading overview, where you can see each and every grade that your student has received over a given time period, the lesson plans and presets page, which we'll cover a little bit later, as well as the transcript supplemental page, where you can add additional information that would be added onto your student's transcript. Now, the center section of the menu, this is where all of the reports are. Things like the attendance report, course list, the daily task list, report cards, transcripts, etc. Each of these reports can be generated as a PDF file, which you could then download, email, print out, send it, etc. And then up here in the top right is the Manage List section of the menu. Now, this is, I tend to refer to this as more of a maintenance area of the program. So what I mean by that is you're probably not going to be in and out of these different screens here each and every day, but it's really more of kind of where you're going to go to set something up or to edit something that is referenced throughout the rest of the program. So for example, this is where your activities list is, the names of all your chores, your course list, grading scales, the library, setting up your school years and terms, your subjects list. So that's why I call it more of a maintenance area. You're probably not going to be adding new subjects every day, but this is kind of where you will go to do that if you needed to. Now below that is the Your Account section of the menu. This is where the program options are. This is where you can set up your school profile, and this is where you can change your subscription settings or create user accounts for your students or other teachers to log in. So that's just a quick overview of the menu and kind of how it's broken up. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about subjects and courses. Now it's important to talk about these because when you're setting up your Homeschool Tracker account initially, or once you just kind of get started, you want to kind of understand how things work within the program, obviously, and subjects and courses are really important pieces of that. So we think of subjects as really the broad areas of study. So these are things like math, language arts, history, or science. Those kind of basic core subjects that we all remember, and that typically have courses that fall underneath those subjects. So that's why we think of courses as really those specific areas of study that would be held within a subject. So a course might be something like Algebra 2, which would belong to the subject of math, or Composition 1, which would belong to the subject of language arts, or Physical Science 1, which might be part of the subject of science. So again, if you think of it kind of as a hierarchy, you have the subjects as kind of the real high level, sort of broad container. And then below that, you would have courses. And those courses, again, are very specific areas of study. You can think of them as like a class or a specific course that you might have just for a shorter period of time. So let's take a look at how this plays out within Homeschool Tracker. So I'm going to go click on the subjects list right here to see a list of all of our subjects. And here you are. You can see that I have 4 subjects in my account: history, language arts, math, and science. And as you can see here, there's not really a whole lot of other information, and part of that is because, again, subjects are really this kind of this broad, almost container of courses, really. So if I open up this history subject here, you'll see that it has a name. I can change it from core or elective. I can see the names of all the courses that are kind of part of the history subject. I can make it active or inactive, but otherwise not really a whole lot going on. If I wanted to add a new subject, I could click on Action, Add, and fill that out and create a new subject. But now let's go and look at the courses list to see how that compares. So if I look at the courses list, you can see already off the bat, I have a lot more courses, and there's just a lot more information here. The reason there's a lot more information is because with courses, you can get much more specific, more granular in terms of the different settings that you can have for a course. So for example, let's look at this one. This is Ancient History 1. If I open that up, you can see that the name is Ancient History 1. It belongs to the subject of history. I could give it a course code. I can tell how many credit units it's worth, how those units are calculated. If it's using a specific kind of grading scale, I can turn on weighted grading for this. I can have notes for the course, all sorts of different things. So as you can see, obviously courses, not only are they more specific areas of study, but you can get more specific in how that course is handled from a grading perspective or from a credit units perspective. And that's obviously gets more important as your students are in high school, and perhaps the grading is specific to a course, or those courses are worth a specific number of credit units. So let's go ahead and create a new course while we're in here. I'm going to go click on Action and then choose Add. And I'm going to give this course a name. I'm going to call it Reading 1. And for the subject, Reading 1 would probably fall under the subject of language arts. So let's go ahead and put in language arts. I'm going to stop right there because, as you noticed, as I was typing in language arts popped up right here. And that's because this is what we call a smart entry field. And you'll find these throughout the program. Basically what they do is, as you're typing into them, they search the corresponding list, in this case the subjects list, for anything that matches what you're typing. So language arts pops up as I'm typing that in, and then I could just select that subject. Now if I didn't know what subject I wanted, I could just enter in a blank space and see a list of all the subjects and then choose the one that I want that way. Okay, so I have this course set up as Reading 1. It belongs to the subject of language arts. I'm going to keep all these other things kind of the default for now, and then I'll click. Oh, I already have a course with the same name. I guess I forgot from the previous demo. I'm going to call this one Reading 2 then. Let's go for that. And then I'll click Save. Okay, so now I added one new item. Click Refresh to view. So there we go. Now I have a new course called Reading 2. So that's how you would add a new course. And again, this course belongs to the subject of language arts. So that's how it's kind of organized. You've got language arts as the subject, and then you have Reading 2 as the name of the course. And the reason that's important is because, and I like to think of this kind of throughout the program, is that if you think about how you want your reports to be organized, right? So reports meaning like your report card or your transcript down the line. Typically, transcripts specifically are organized where they have a subject, and then they have a list of all the courses within that subject. So this is why this is important in terms of how you're setting this up, because it's going to impact your reports down the line later. If you have a bunch of subjects, like language arts, and then like English, or something like that, now you're going to get into kind of an organizational kind of nightmare in terms of, okay, well, this course that I have here is actually part of English, but it's also part of language arts, so that's why I like to think of the subjects as being really broad, and then the courses as being much more specific. So most Homeschool Tracker accounts might have anywhere from, say, 4 to 10 subjects. If you have more than that, you might want to think about how you're organizing things. But you could have literally hundreds of courses, right? Because over the course of 12 years of homeschooling, perhaps your student has probably been in and taken a lot of different courses along the way. Okay. So let's jump back over here. Now, a few things to watch out for when working with subjects and courses. We recommend not using the exact same name for both a subject and a course, right? So if you have a subject called language arts, I would not also have a course called language arts, right? Because again, you want that course name to be much more specific than the subject. And that way, too, you won't get confused in the program. If you see language arts, you'll know, oh, that's the subject, language arts. That's not a course. And then the other thing that we'll mention is that if you see a slash, that's showing the break between subject and course. And if you don't see a slash, that means you're just looking at a subject. So this makes much more sense if I show you. So I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to go to the calendar view. And I'm just going to create a new assignment real quick here. Now, you'll notice when I'm creating a new assignment, I have this field here that says subject/course. And we do that because throughout the program, you're going to be referencing subjects and courses quite a bit. And so this kind of speeds up the entry a bit. It basically combines the subject field and the course field into one. And we show that with this slash, right? So if I just put a blank space in here, because this is a smart entry field, you'll see a list of all the subjects and all of the courses. So here is history. That's the subject of history. And then below that is history/ancient history 1. So kind of following this naming convention, subject/course, that means this is the subject history / the course ancient history 1. So if I select that, this assignment is going to be part of the ancient history 1 course. And it's showing you the subject history here, just so you have that frame of reference. So hopefully that makes sense. If you see that slash, right, that means that you're looking at the course grammar in this case, or reading 1 in this case. And if you see just a single name without a slash, that means you're just looking at a subject. Okay. So let's now dive into assignments. So we think of assignments in Homeschool Tracker as really the schoolwork tasks that we give our students to complete. So literally anything that we assign to our students, that could be a lesson, it could be homework, it could be a field trip even, it could be a test or a quiz. Anything that we're giving our student to work on that we want to kind of track over time or we want to give a grade to, that is an assignment. And because of that, assignments are really the heart of all of your record keeping in Homeschool Tracker. So assignments can come from a couple different places, right? They could be created individually or in a series, and I'll show you how to do that. Or they could come from a lesson plan. And when that lesson plan goes through what we call the scheduler, it will generate assignments. And because assignments have all of that information, they have things like the subject and the course and the page number or the points earned and points possible. Because all that data is in those assignments and you're tracking it over time, you can then do a number of different things with assignments. So that's where report cards and transcripts come from. You can generate attendance records from assignments. You can generate the daily task list from your assignments, and all of those other additional reports, they typically all come from the information that's contained within an assignment. So this is what a typical assignment entry form looks like. We actually kind of just saw this on that previous page. But each assignment requires a student, it requires a subject course, and a date. Those are the only really required fields. Obviously, there's a number of other fields, and the more information you put into those fields, the more things you can do with it later. So for example, you have the activity field. So the activity, that could be like a lesson, a quiz, or a test. You can put in a resource. A resource is an item from your library. So, a book or a workbook of some kind. You can put in PLC information. PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. So you can put like pages 21 through 32. There's a directions field here where you can type in or copy and paste in a bunch of directions for that particular assignment. You can have start and end times for your assignment. You can enter in the points possible and points earned if you're grading the assignment. You can put in the amount of time spent on the assignment if you need to be tracking hours or something like that. And then you can specify if the assignment can be rescheduled or not. And then you can mark an assignment complete, either by a student or by a teacher, or both. And when you mark an assignment complete by a teacher, that really kind of powers the rest of Homeschool Tracker. So when an assignment is marked complete by a teacher, attendance can be recorded if you have automatic attendance enabled. Grades are generated if you're grading the assignment. The time spent can be calculated, and from all of those different data points, all of these reports can be generated. And they really are generated specifically when you hit that complete button, because if an assignment isn't marked complete, then really it's just kind of hanging out there, and the system doesn't know if the student actually completed the work or not. Okay, so we're going to do a little demo on assignments. What we'll do is we'll create single and multiple assignments. We'll add grades to them, and we'll mark them complete. And we'll do that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. So let's jump back here. So right now I'm in the agenda calendar view, and what I want to do is just create a single assignment. So I'll go up to add, I'm going to choose assignment single. So this is that assignment entry form that we saw earlier. So I'm going to choose a student. In this case, I'll choose my daughter Campbell. And then we need a subject course. So I'm just going to hit the space bar to open up the list of all of them. And let's choose Ancient History 1. Now for activity, again, I can hit the space bar to see a list of all the different activities. In this case, I will choose a lesson. Resource, again, this is a smart entry field, so I can hit the space bar there as well. And I'll just pick one of these books in here. And then PLC, again, that stands for page, lesson, chapter. I'll just call this lesson 1. And then all these other fields, I could put more information in, but what I'll do is I'll just put this on the calendar for today, and we'll do a start time of 8 a.m. and an end time of 9 a.m. If I don't put a start and end time, it just shows up as an all-day assignment. And let's say that this is worth 10 points. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click on save. And there we go. I've just created a single assignment for Campbell for today from 8 to 9 a.m. If I wanted to view more about this assignment, I could just double click on it. And I get a little preview of it here. If I click on more, I get that same entry form, and I can edit all of those fields. So let's say today kind of came and went, and Campbell completed this assignment, and I wanted to go in here and give it a grade and mark it complete. So I could go in here and I'll give her a 9 out of 10. And then I'm going to click on Teacher Complete. When I click on that, you'll notice that it calculated this grade of 90%. And I can click on Save now. And so when I click on Save, a few things happen. First off, this gets a little bit darker in color to show me that that assignment has been marked complete. And then also, this Campbell present showed up here. And what this is a attendance record. And because I have automatic attendance enabled in my program options, what that does is it says, okay, if an assignment is marked complete on a given day, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the student was present that day. So let's go ahead and create an attendance record for her. And that's kind of just an automated feature. You can turn it on or off, or you can modify the settings a bit, but it's handy because it means that you don't necessarily have to create individual attendance records. It'll do it for you as you go throughout your day. So there you go. Pretty easy. I just created a single assignment. I gave it a grade, and I marked it complete. And when we think about workflows, about how you might use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis, a lot of folks use it just like this, right? Where they go in the morning, perhaps, put in their assignments for the day, and then at the end of the day, go in and give them grades or mark them complete. And totally fine to use Homeschool Tracker just like that, kind of each and every day. Absolutely, you could do that. A lot of folks are also using it this way, almost in reverse. So let's say you're an unschooler, or you just don't like to plan as much, or maybe perhaps you're using a paper planner of some kind, or you have a lesson plan from a curriculum that you have, and you don't want to just have to enter all those things in ahead of time. A lot of folks will go in at the end of the day, kind of like what we're doing now, and just go in and put in all of the assignments or the things that they did complete that day. And then Homeschool Tracker becomes more of a logging and tracking tool and less of a planning tool. And that's totally fine. It works great for that as well, because again, if you're keeping all of your data in here and you're organizing things properly, then generating all of those reports, transcripts, report cards, etc., is super easy. So that's another way that folks use Homeschool Tracker. So as we go through tonight, I'll kind of mention a few things like that. in relation to the different workflows that you might find. Okay, so that's how you create one single assignment at a time. I want to show you now how to create a series of assignments. So if I go up and click on Add and choose Assignment Multiple, we are presented with the Add Multiple Assignments wizard. And so this is a wizard because you can kind of jump through the different tabs here, and it'll kind of take you through these tabs as we create our multiple assignments. So first off, I can choose what students I want this for. So the nice thing is I can create this for more than one student at a time. I'm just going to have it for Campbell for now. And then subject course, I'll go ahead and make this for Ancient History 1 again. And these will be lessons. And I'll just pick one of these books. And then for start time, let's do 8 to 9 again. And these will be worth 10 points. Okay, and then I'll continue to day and date. That'll take me to the next tab. And what I can do is I can set up when I want these assignments to occur. So I'm gonna have it, I could choose like different days of the week or every month. I'm just gonna have it happen every day. And I'm gonna have the start date be, let's do tomorrow, the 29th. And then I have two options here. I can continue creating items until the PLC pattern is exhausted, or I can continue creating items until an end date. I'm going to choose this PLC option because I want to show you how that works. And then I'll continue to PLC. Now, if you remember, PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter, right? And so if you think about page, lesson, chapter, and a series of assignments, the chances of each and one of those assignments having the same page, lesson, chapter is probably pretty low, right? Because you would typically see the first assignment being, say, lesson 1, the second assignment being lesson 2, the third assignment being lesson 3, etc. Now, it would be kind of a pain to have to type that in for each one of those. So we have these automatic increment tools here within this Add Multiple Assignments wizard here. So what I can do is I can create a 1-part auto increment. I could do 2 or 3 parts, but let's just stick with 1 for now. And I can have that page, lesson, chapter increment automatically as it's creating multiple assignments. So what I'll do here is I'll change the leading text to lesson. And I'm going to start with lesson 2. And I'm going to end with, let's see, 2, 3, let's just end with lesson 4. And I'm going to increment by 1, okay? So now what I want to do is click on Continue to Preview. And this will just give me a preview of what I'm about to create. So you'll see that I'm creating an assignment on Wednesday, because that was my start date, from 8 to 9, and this is for lesson 2. And then Thursday, lesson 3, and then Friday, lesson 4. So as you can see, it automatically incremented the PLC for those for these 3 lessons across 3 days. So I'm going to select all of these and then choose Accept Selected Items. Now remember, this is just a preview of what I'm going to create. Not until I select the ones that I want and click Accept will they actually be created. So I'm going to click on that. And so there you go. I just created 3 assignments to kind of continue this series. Wednesday is lesson 2, Thursday is lesson 3, and Friday is lesson 4. So pretty simple to create a few or multiple assignments at a time. So now what I want to do is jump over to the list view and show you kind of how that works and how it's a little bit different, but also very powerful. Before we jump over there, I just want to go over the interface here of the calendar view, just so it makes a little bit more sense. Obviously, it looks like a calendar. At the top here, these blue tabs, these are all different filters for the calendar. So they filter basically what I'm seeing or not seeing on the calendar. So for example, if I wanted to view just specific students, I could do that. If I wanted to view specific types of items, you know, let's say I didn't want to see attendance records, I could turn that off or turn it back on. I can view just things that are incomplete or complete. I could view specific courses if I wanted. And then one nice feature of this is that if I want to, I can export to PDF whatever I'm viewing here. So if I just click on that, you'll see that it just downloaded a PDF file of my calendar. So I could print this out, I could save it. So a handy way to print out what you're viewing there. These are the navigation tools for the different views. So I could view 1 day or a week at a time or a month at a time, etc. And then down here, it says show full day. So right now I'm just viewing 8 to 5 p.m. But if I click on show full day, we'll see from midnight to midnight. And if I click back on show school hours, it'll just give me those times. And I can change what my school hours are in my program options. Okay, so now let's jump over to the list view. I'm going to go to the agenda list view. And now the list view and the calendar view, they're both showing the same agenda data. They're both showing the same assignments, the same attendance records, but they're just displaying it in a different way, right? So if you think about the calendar view, that's one way to display what the assignments are. You know, I can kind of see them at a glance, but it's hard for me to edit more than one item at a time. That's why we have the list view. So right off the bat, you'll see in the list view that I can see all of these different assignments. I can see this attendance record, and I can quickly, kind of get a sense of what's going on here. Similarly to the calendar view, here on the left, I have my filters. So I can choose the date range that I'm viewing, the students, the types of items, etc. And then here in the middle is the actual data. So for example, all these different columns here, I could sort by these. So if I wanted to sort by date, I could do that. If I wanted to group them, I can take a column header here, move it up here and group items. In this case, I'm grouping them by the type of item that they are, but really kind of a handy way to manipulate your data all at once. But really the power comes in if I wanted to edit more than one item at a time, I can absolutely do that. So let's take these 3 assignments here and just select those. And let's say I wanted to edit these. I could go to Action, Multi-Edit. And let's say I want to just mark these complete and give them a grade. I'm going to give them all a grade of 8 out of 9, and I'm going to mark them teacher complete and click Save. So there you go. I just graded all 3 of those assignments and marked them complete. And you'll notice that the grades are now there, 80%. And it also created attendance records for each one of those days because I marked them complete. So really powerful way if you wanted to edit more than one item at a time, or just get a view of your data in a different way. So that is the agenda list view. Okay, so just to recap a little bit on assignments, what we did is we created single and multiple assignments. And we did that from the calendar view as well as the list view. We added grades to them and we marked them complete. So let's move on now to lesson plans. Now, lesson plans are a really powerful and popular tool within Homeschool Tracker, but I do want to mention that they are a little bit more advanced of a concept, and we'll cover them in brief tonight, but I definitely would recommend, if you are interested in lesson plans, to check out the replay of that lesson planning webinar that I pointed out earlier, because we really go in depth on that one. But basically, lesson plans are a sequence of items that have not yet been scheduled as assignments. So these items, these lesson plan items, look a whole lot like an assignment, but they don't have a student and they don't have a date. So they're almost kind of like an assignment template, if you will. And they're organized in a lesson plan in a particular sequence. So kind of like how we were just creating lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4 for Ancient History 1. Imagine if you had that same sequence, but just kind of as templates, and they didn't have dates or students on them yet. But that means that you could just use them at any given time or any moment that you wanted to. So that's great if you want to plan things out in detail ahead of time, or if you're using a predefined curriculum, like an off-the-shelf curriculum. Now, the nice thing is that since they're not tied to a particular student, that means they can be reused over and over again throughout your homeschooling career. So if you have a student that takes freshman biology, you can create a lesson plan for that student. And then when your younger student takes that class eventually, they can just use that same lesson plan. The other nice thing is that these lesson plans can be shared and imported using our shared lesson plan library. So all of the other Homeschool Tracker users have access to this, and they can contribute lesson plans to that library. We have now over 1,000 lesson plans in there. A lot of them are based off of off-the-shelf curriculum. But this is also great if you're part of a group or a co-op. So for example, if you, if one member of your group wanted to create a lesson plan and share it with everybody else, they could absolutely do that. So let's dive in and take a look at lesson plans. What we'll do is we'll see an example lesson plan. We'll create a simple one. We'll import one from the lesson plan library, and then we'll schedule a lesson plan and discuss using presets for that scheduling. So let's jump back here. And what I'll do is I'll go to lesson plan. Now, if you are just getting started, you won't have any lesson plans in your account, but you'd have to create one first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one that I have so you can get an idea of what it looks like. So first off, you might notice that this screen looks a lot like the agenda list view. A lot of the same paradigms take place here. So for example, you've got your filters here on the left, you've got your columns, etc. And so the reason we do that is because, like I mentioned, lesson plan items, these different items here, if I open one up, it looks a whole lot like an assignment, right? But it's missing a few things. It's missing a student. It's missing a date. So that's why I like to think of these as almost like an assignment template, right? So this is almost everything an assignment needs to be, except all that needs to happen is this actually needs to be assigned, right? It needs to be assigned to a student and needs to be given a date, scheduled, if you will. So let's take a look at this lesson plan, because these are in a specific order, ordered by what we call the day number here. So on day 1 of this lesson plan, you're doing lesson 1 of this arithmetic course. Day 2, you're doing lesson 2. Day 3, you're doing lesson 3, etc. And then on day 12, you have a test that's worth 100 points. And also on day 12, you have another test that's also worth 100 points. Now this continues. If I keep scrolling down here, you'll notice that this goes on for 171 days. There are 202 items in this lesson plan. So this is an entire year's worth of arithmetic lessons that you can use at any given time. So that's kind of what a lesson plan looks like. So you can start to see the potential here. You know, if you really wanted to get organized and wanted to enter in all of this information ahead of time, just have it ready to go, it would be in your account, and then you can just schedule it and assign these things to your student as you go throughout your school year. So what I want to do now is let's just create a simple lesson plan so we can see how that's done. What I'll do is click on Add, and let's do Add Multiple. Now, just like with assignments, this looks a lot like the Add Multiple Assignment tool, but we're just adding multiple lesson plan items at a time. Now, it's going to default to the lesson plan that I was just looking at, but if I want to create a new plan, all I have to do is clear that out, and I'm going to create a new plan just by putting in a new name here. I'll call it Sample Plan. And let's have this be Ancient History, and these will be lessons. Let's just pick a resource. Okay, and these will be worth 10 points. Now, if I continue to day numbers, and let's see, we're going to start on day 1, and we'll increment by 1. And then we will continue to PLC. So for the PLC, I'm going to do another 1-part increment here. I'm going to go with lesson, and I'll start with 1, and let's end with 10, and we'll increment by 1. So if I continue to preview, you can kind of expect, you know, what you're going to see here. We have 10 days. On day 1 is lesson 1, day 2 is lesson 2, all the way to day 10, lesson 10. So let's go ahead and select all those, and then choose Accept Selected Items. And now we're back on the lesson plan screen. Let's go ahead and load up that sample plan that I just created. And here you go. Here's the sample lesson plan that we just created. It's 10 days. And it goes from lesson 1 to lesson 10. So let's say I wanted to add a test to this at the end of the 10 days. I can just go to Add Single. And let's do this for Ancient History 1. We'll have this be on day 11, and we'll call this a test. Make that worth 100 points. We'll save that. So now you have 10 days of ancient history, and then on the 11th day, you have a test worth 100 points. So that's just a really basic lesson plan that we just created. Now, you can obviously continue this pattern and create 180 days or so of lessons. But definitely check out that lesson planning webinar, because we cover a lot of tips and techniques for how to do that really efficiently, especially if you are, say, for example, you purchased an off-the-shelf curriculum and you want to kind of copy that lesson plan into your account. We have some great tips on how to do that as well. Okay, so now that we've created a simple plan, I want to show you how to import a lesson plan from that shared lesson plan library. So let's go to Shared Lesson Plans. And if I want to just see a list of all the shared lesson plans, I can just enter in a blank search here. And here are, whoops. There we go. Here are all the lesson plans in the shared lesson plan library. You can see that there are a ton of them. I think there's over 1,000 now, and they're mostly based off of off-the-shelf curriculum. So definitely check these out. Users have created these and uploaded them. So take a look at them, see if they might work for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a search here for reading, and I'm going to grab this Usborne First Reading Level 1 plan. If I click on it, you can kind of see a quick preview of it. What I want to do is I'm going to prepare this for import. And when I import it into my account, I'm going to want to give it a name. So I'm going to call this Reading 1. And then I can choose which items I want to import. I'm going to just select all of them. But before I do that, or before I import them, I noticed here that the subject course for all of these is language arts. So if you remember, when you see that, that just means it's part of the subject language arts. But I want these to be part of my new course that I created called Reading 1. So what I'm going to do, I could just import these now and I could multi-edit them later and add that course, but I can do it right now as well. So I'm going to choose Action, Multi-Edit. I'm going to change the subject course to Reading 1 and click Save. And there you go. Now these are all part of Reading 1. And I also noticed that for activity, it says Child Read Aloud and then it says New. And all of these resources say New. That just means that those resources and that activity, they don't exist in my account currently. But what it's going to do is it's going to import, or it's going to create those for me when it imports it, which is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and click Accept. And there you go. I'm now on the lesson plan screen. I'm looking at lesson plan for Reading 1. And this is that lesson plan that I just imported from the shared lesson plan library, ready for use in my account. So pretty handy. Somebody obviously took the time to create this and shared it with everybody. And now I've imported it and I can use it in my account. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and use it. So now that it's in here, what I want to do is I'm going to schedule it for Campbell so that it's on her agenda. So what I'll do, I'm going to schedule these first 5 days of this plan. So I'll select the first 5 and then choose Action, Scheduler. Now I can schedule this for more than one student. I'm going to just choose Campbell for now. Then I can continue to day and date. And I can choose, kind of the pattern I want. I want this to happen every day from 10 to 11. And I'm actually going to go back in time. I'm going to do this for this week, starting on Monday. And then I'm going to do it, continue until all selected items are used. Now, if you remember, I selected 5, right? So it's going to just do for this week. So now let's continue to preview. And again, this is the preview. So we're seeing a preview of where I'm taking day 1 of the lesson plan, and it's going to be scheduled for Monday from 10 to 11. And then day 2 is going to be scheduled for Tuesday, and so on. So let's go ahead and select all of these and then choose Accept. And so now if I go to my agenda, you'll see that from 10 to 11 every day, I have a different assignment. And if you look at these, they're all different, right? So this was day 1 of that lesson plan. This was day 2, but now they are actual assignments on my agenda. So the nice thing about that is that the lesson plan and those lesson plan items, they still exist out there. I still have them in my lesson plan, and I could use them again. I could schedule them for my other student next week if I wanted. But that's the beauty of the lesson plan, right? Those are kind of templates, and when I go and schedule them, they become assignments. And so now if I open these up, you'll see that this is the full-on assignment that I can grade and I can mark complete for Campbell. So that's kind of the basics of lesson plans, how to use them, how to schedule them. What I want to do now is show you a little bit more advanced way to schedule lesson plans. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the lesson plans and presets page. Now what we just saw was kind of like the basic scheduler, where you go into each lesson plan, you select the items you want to schedule, and then you schedule them. But what I want to show you now is a really advanced scheduler. So on the lesson plans and presets page, I have Campbell selected, and these are all the active lesson plans that she's using within this kind of advanced scheduler. So I'm going to choose edit. I want to add that reading one lesson plan that we just created. Because the nice part about this advanced scheduler is that we can schedule more than one lesson plan at a time, which makes things go really fast. So I'm going to choose reading one, just check that box. And then I'm going to go to preset. Now, what presets are, if you look at this looks like a calendar, right? But there's no dates up here, it's just the week. And what it does is it basically sets up preset times during the week when I want specific courses to occur. So you'll notice from 9 to 10, I've got Ancient History 1. From 10 to 11, I have spelling. For what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new preset for reading 1. And I'm going to have it from 3 to 4 p.m. Let's just do every day, every weekday. So there you go. I now have a preset from 3 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. So now if I go to the scheduler, again, this is the advanced scheduler, I can tell this advanced scheduler to schedule my lesson plans for whatever week I want at these specific times based off of what subject course those are for. So here I have 7 different lesson plans. I'm going to select all of them, and then I'm going to continue to day and date to schedule it. So what I want to do here, instead of setting specific days, I'm going to choose preset, right? And so by selecting preset, it's going to use those preset times from the previous screen to dictate my scheduling. And I'm going to choose a start date. I'm going to do next Monday. We'll schedule all of next week, okay? And I want to continue until next Friday. So I'm going to schedule all of next week, 7 lesson plans, all at those preset times. So now let's continue to preview. And there you go. This is a preview of all of the assignments I'm about to create for next week from 7 different lesson plans over 5 days. It's 46 items. And you'll notice that Ancient History 1 is from 9 to 10 on Monday. Then we do spelling. Here's that reading 1 plan from 3 to 4. And then on Tuesday, it kind of picks up on Ancient History 1 again and goes through. So as you can see, there's a lot of information here. These are very detailed assignments that it's about to create from those lesson plan templates. And I did that with just a few clicks, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these and then choose accept. And what it's going to do, it's going to create all 46 of those assignments and set them up on Campbell's agenda for next week. So when we think about workflow, you could, you don't have to do this, obviously, it's optional, but you could create lesson plans for all of your different courses. And then each week, go in here, schedule all of your lesson plans for the entire week and be ready to go. So I am back on the agenda. If I go to next week, there you go, Campbell's schedule for next week, 46 assignments on here, all in very specific times that I had put in for the presets. And these are all from lesson plans. So they also have lots of information in here for what she needs to accomplish. So really, a really powerful way to schedule your week rather quickly. And I would recommend, if you're using lesson plans or if you're creating multiple assignments, to really just schedule 1 week or maybe 2 weeks at a time. There's like this temptation for folks to schedule like the entire year all at once. And, I really caution against that because it kind of limits you in terms of being flexible. If you schedule, your whole year all at once, if you need to reschedule something, you can certainly do it, but it's a lot of shuffling around and kind of limits your ability to go faster or slower, which is, one of the advantages of homeschooling in general. So we like to just schedule 1 week or 2 weeks at a time. Because again, especially if you're using lesson plans, you always have those lesson plans ready to go. So, if you're going faster or slower, you can adjust, week to week rather easily. Okay, so that's lesson plans. Let's talk a little bit about reports. So reports can be generated as PDFs that you can save, print out, or send. And the daily task list is a great report to use on a day-to-day basis. I'll show you that here in a second. Now, transcripts and report cards, those can be generated as long as you have at least 1 completed and graded assignment in a course. So transcripts and report cards are all about grades. And so if you don't have a completed and graded assignment in a specific course, it's not going to show up on your transcript or report card. But once you do have at least one graded assignment and graded and completed assignment in a course, it should start to show up on your transcript or your report card. So let's go back here real quick, and I just want to show you the daily task list. So right here in the center of the menu under reports. So the daily task list is a way for me to generate a report that shows me basically kind of like the agenda, all of the different things that my student has to complete. So let's go ahead and create this for Campbell for next week. So all those 46 items we just created. I'm going to choose Campbell here for all subjects and courses. I'm going to kind of keep the rest of these the defaults for now. And I'm going to click on Generate Report. And now I'll pick up the report, which will download a PDF. And here you go. So this is a PDF file that I could print out. And it's basically a list of all of the things that she has to do next week over 4 pages here. So really handy if you want to print that out and put it up on a bulletin board or something. It gives you all the information that each assignment has. So that is the daily task list. So kind of recap here to talk about workflows, and we mentioned these kind of as we were going, but you can absolutely create and complete single assignments on a daily basis, right? And a lot of folks do just that. They'll go in the morning, create their assignments, and then go in at the end of the day and mark things complete. Or, like I mentioned earlier, you could go in at the end of the day and just kind of retroactively put in all the assignments that you did that day. And that works great as well. And in fact, if you're just starting out, I might even recommend you start that way, just to kind of get in the habit of keeping track of things and learning the program that way. Then you can kind of ramp it up a notch. As soon as you're kind of comfortable with that, you could get into lesson plans, right? You could create a lesson plan for a specific course and schedule it, 1 week at a time. Or you could even schedule all of your courses, or create lesson plans for all of your courses if you wanted, and schedule those, 1 week at a time, whether you do it using the kind of the basic scheduler or the more advanced scheduler using preset times. You could absolutely do that as well. So a lot of different ways to use Homeschool Tracker, and that's always kind of the fun thing for us too, is we see how our users are using the program in a ton of different ways. So, definitely be creative and don't hesitate to ask, if you're kind of facing a specific kind of workflow problem, we're happy to kind of come up with a solution for you. So that kind of wraps up the planned portion. We do have some time for questions and answers. So feel free, if you have any questions, go ahead and click on that Q&A button there in your viewer and ask away. I'm happy to stay on as late as we need to, just to make sure that all of your questions are answered. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are recording this, so we will send you a recording of this webinar so that you have that to reference. And the other fun thing that we like to do is for those of you that have stayed on all night with us, we absolutely appreciate it. So what we'll do is we will credit your account by adding an additional month to your account. So basically a free month of Homeschool Tracker on us, because we know, just how busy everybody is. And we also know that, attending these webinars makes you more successful with Homeschool Tracker. And so we absolutely appreciate that. So it's our gift to you to give you a free month of Homeschool Tracker, totally on us. If you are not yet a user, we'll be able to see that as well. And we can reach out to you and give you a coupon code or something so you can give it a try. So feel free to ask any questions you might have. And if we don't have any questions, that's fine too. You can absolutely always email us at support@homeschooltracker.com, and we're happy to answer all of your questions that way as well. I'll give it just another minute here to see if any questions pop up. All right, looks like we don't have any questions tonight. Well, that must mean that I covered everything and it was awesome. So anyway, we absolutely appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Again, we will follow up with an email with a recording of this webinar, and we'll also send you a survey too, just to kind of get your feedback on the webinar to see what you thought of it, and if you have any questions or suggestions for future sessions. Elizabeth says, thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining us. We absolutely appreciate it. So Thanks to all of you oh, Rebecca has a question. Let's do it. Let's answer Rebecca's question. She says, I'm currently listing subjects down the left side of my weekly page, weekdays on the top instead of viewing by time. Let's see. Let me read that one more time. It says, I'm currently listing subjects down the left side of my weekly page, weekdays on the top instead of viewing by time. I'm assuming, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. You're currently listing it in Homeschool Tracker that way, or are you using something else perhaps, and that's how you're viewing your subjects down the left side of your weekly page? If you could clarify, that might be helpful for us. I have a feeling that maybe you're using something else currently, maybe a binder or something, and you're listing your subjects on the left side. Okay, you're doing a paper tracker and binder, and you're viewing your subjects on the left side of your weekly page and then weekdays on the top. Okay, so I see what you're saying. So you're probably wondering if you could do something similar in Homeschool Tracker. Well, you probably can't do that on the calendar view, right? Because the calendar is obviously listed with days of the week at the top. And if you have multiple students in the calendar view, they're shown here kind of next to the other students. So one possible thing that might work for you would just be maybe on the list view. Let me just jump over here. So the nice thing about the list view is you can group things, right? So you could group things by type, or in your case, maybe you want to group things by description, which is kind of the subject and course. So you could see kind of Ancient History 1 and all of the items that pertain to that, Reading 1 and all the items that pertain to that. I don't know if that will be able to generate kind of a page though that shows the subjects down one side and the days of the week at the top the same way that you're doing it now. It's just not quite set up that same way, but definitely that would be a cool report for us to add in the future. I will say that when you are generating, for example, the daily task lists, you can group these. Oh, this might work for you. You can group this by subject and course, and not by date. So if you remember the daily task list, this one, right? I'm grouping this by date essentially, and then it lists the times. If I change this to subject course, it's been a while since I've done this. Let's see what it does. Now you'll see that it's grouping these by subject and course, and then it shows me the dates and times. So, and obviously yours will be different. This one is specific to Campbell, right? If I were to create one for Manning or for my other students, each one of them would have their own. So that might work well for you, right? You've got 3 students. It looks like you could create one of these for each one of your 3 students, and they would have their own personalized daily task list that had it broken up by subject and course, and then all of the tasks that they would have to do for that particular week. Cool. Sounds like that was helpful for you, Rebecca. Thanks so much for that question. So hopefully that's helpful. And that's also, I love those types of questions, right? Because it kind of stretches us to think about, oh, okay, so in that situation, what would I do, right? And I think this is probably at least close to what you're doing now. It's not ever going to be exact, right? Because that's, if you wanted to be exactly the same, then you would just stick with what you're using. But this is a good kind of, I wouldn't even call it a workaround. This is a good alternative to where you can still be tracking everything. You can view things differently. Maybe you'll find, right, that one student wants it this way and another student wants it another way. And you have that sort of flexibility, right? So that's the kind of the nice thing about using a platform like Homeschool Tracker, is it gives you all that flexibility to deliver really what is ultimately the same data. It's the same information, but you can deliver it and view it in different forms. And so that's really one of the key advantages of using Homeschool Tracker. All right, so with that, I will go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. But again, thank you to all of you for joining us tonight, and we greatly appreciate it. And we hope to see you again soon. All right, thanks. Have a good night.